I am Dora Edelbaum.
Pabians was where you were born.
Yeah.
Pabanitsa.
Dora, were you born, and how long did you live in Pabanitsa? Is that where you were born?
All my life, yeah.
Went to school there?
Mm-hmm. Jewish school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to private school,
Mm-hmm.
and when the German came, was no more schools.
Did you go to a girls' school, or
Yeah, I went to a girls' school.
how many people were in your school?
I don't know, 20, more or less in school. But when the German came in, they cut off schooling.
And tell us about your family.
I come a family from 5, 3 brothers and a sister.
And older, younger brothers and sisters?
They were older than I am, maybe 3 years older, each one of them.
Each one of your brothers.
Mm-hmm.
You were the youngest then?
No, I was before the youngest. I was the 4th child. 3 boys, and I was the first girl.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family, what your father's occupation was?
My father was a tailor. He had a tailor shop in Pabanitsa. And my mother was a housewife. When I was young, maybe about 12 years old, when the war broke out, 12, 13, when the Germans came in, they cut down rations, what they give you, Cubans on. It was enough not to live, not to die, just get by. And they started rationing the bread and the food and everything to give on the rations. And you will stay in line. You can get up 6 in the morning and stay till 3, 4 o'clock, and the bread or the meat is out.
And you said that your family and another family lived together in Pabanitsa?
Yeah, they gathered us together, 2 families together, because like I said, they want to keep everybody on the same surrounding. Because if they want to surround, they can. They know where we live, But when the Germans came in, my father was the tailor, and he couldn't be a tailor anymore because he had to work in like a girdle factory. And I learned, my father took me in to have a Social Security card, because when you have a Social Security card, you're able to work. But my mother didn't have it because my father wanted her not to work, stay home, take care of the family. So I was working, and one of my brothers was 2 of my brothers were working, and I was working. And the people who did not have Social Security cards, they had numbers, alphabet and numbers on the hand from Pabanitsa, because one day they said that everybody should get it, like a sewer park. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I think it was maybe around 3 o'clock, and till midnight they were sorting out people, sending on trucks. I guess invalids, wheelchair people, they were putting on those trucks. And they put them to, I would say, not to ghetto, to us. Then from living 2 families in a room in Poland, then we were sent to Lodz ghetto from Pabianic.
And both families went to Lodz from the Pabanitsa ghetto?
Yeah, but I've never seen them in the ghetto anymore, because everybody was sort of scared around, scared around. Because when I came from Poland, I went to school, and after that they didn't want any. They cut down all the colleges and schools,
So you didn't go to school in Lodz ghetto?
No.
You went to work there instead?
Yeah, I went to work. I worked in there, or I cannot remember exactly, 6 months to a year. And after I lost my mother and my family in Papanitsa, so my father was very ill, and they had to, and he was in bed laying. He couldn't turn, just like a baby. And I would come in when they left our streets, the Germans. So somebody uncovered the wood, the cellar, and I went out and went in the room to feed my father. When I used to work, I used to run home with a piece of wood. I had to chop up the wood, and I had the wood. I didn't have no matches. I had to stay outside till somebody goes by, had matches or had a cigarette or whatever, and then they run into the house. So, but usually it was that environment, you didn't have nothing to eat. They give you a ration, but it's nothing to eat. Because I lived at that time, they took away my mother and my sister. And I survived with my brother. And my father, from beginning, he survived too, but he passed away, I think, 1942. So when they took out you had to register that who died, on the wagon. They would not carry one person. But they were wearing, just loaded up like cats and dogs. A lot of people fell down from was too high, And when I went to the cemetery, and they showed me where my father was laying, where his place was. It was not the graves. They were like a baker, those wooden shovels, shoveling their stuff.
Yeah.
Like this. My father was laying it up down in a sheet, and there were 5 people this way and 5 people that way were buried. And I wanted to make a little plaque, to know where my father is laying, because there was you could make no connection with nobody to make you a plaque. So I don't know, I put some rocks and wood on, but we never made it to go. So we were sent to Auschwitz from the Lodz ghetto. And the wagon was going all night, carrying people up on those trucks, like those animals they carry, the animals they carry on the outside. This was inside, a little tiny window. And I don't remember how many people they packed in there, like sardines. And we only had in the morning is a cup of coffee. We had a big container, from milk, those milk containers years ago. And whoever could got the cup of coffee. But they gave everybody maybe a loaf of bread, and like Crisco bacon, some kind of grease, and they gave everybody this with a grease can, everybody, and a lot of people died from it because the stomach was not used to it, to take it, And when I was sitting close to the window, and we had I remember some kind of pot that anybody who had to go to the bathroom went there on it, and then they throw it out to the window, and I passed out. I was sitting just around where the window is. So I just passed out on it. When I was sent from Lodz ghetto to Auschwitz, they would say, you take off all your clothes, you're going to take a shower. So you have to be naked, took all the clothes away from you. And those clothes were clothes from the people who died. They're big fishnets, sterilized. They cut my hair. and sterilized my head, kind of deep down to my nose, and I passed out, cardboard.
How long were you in Auschwitz?
I was in Auschwitz a few weeks because they needed 500 people to go to work. Now, and I was chosen with other girls to go.
And where did you go then?
We were working in town, Frankfurt am Main. We were working.
So you left, how did you go from Auschwitz to Frankfurt am Main?
This when I was liberated. From Lodz ghetto, we were sent to Auschwitz.
And how did you go there?
With those kettles, with those trains. We were supposed to arrive in a certain time, they would say. And for 3 days, we were going forth and back and forth. We were going because they were bombing the place. They couldn't get into the place to unload us, So after 3 days, they sent us to Auschwitz.
And you said you were there for a few days, and then they sent you to...
They needed 500 girls, so I was among those 500.
And where did they send the 500 girls?
And we used to work in, I would say it was in the city. I used to make out blocks, steps, steps. We used to make out, and we used to carry the sand, and we used to carry the gravel, and what else? Water and stuff. And we had to make ourselves the paste to make steps. So when we had the whole pattern, the whole grind what we have, they put it in wooden boxes, cement, and then we had to pound it, to settle down.
So you were making streets in a city?
Yeah.
And there were about 500 girls working at this particular camp?
They were all spread it out, spread it.
Mm-hmm.
Then they took another 500. I was in Bremenhaven, Frankfurt am Main, and they went Salzwedel. I don't even know where this was. I was not far away from our camp, Salzwedel.
These were different camps that you went to at different times?
And different camps, yeah.
And they were all work camps?
Right.
And you took a train to
go, and then when we got off the train, then I don't remember how many miles we had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
I was a shoemaker, I was a beautician. What else? I did laundry the piece of one dress, one slip. I don't think we had a slip or not, the underwear.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody didn't want to do it. Like the girls in the kitchen. When you work in the kitchen, you don't go hungry.
That's right. Yeah.
So I washed out their dress. I washed out their dress, and they gave me some soup for it. I cut hair. We had a short hair. They cut your hair like a zero, crooked.
Mm-hmm.
But when the hair grow back a little bit, and I don't know where God gave me, somebody found the scissors. They didn't have nothing to do with the scissors. What are they going to do? And I said, well, give it to me. I will see. I'm going to trim the hairs. And I did for a slice of bread. I was a shoemaker, too. At the work we found when we were walking, and a mold from a shoemakers. They had those iron that you put the shoe on. Mm-hmm. So I've been asking everybody to find the pieces, whatever we could. We had wooden shoes. I was asking everybody if they found a piece of leather to bring it to the camp. I can fix shoes. I don't know where I got the nails. No idea. And I would fix, like it's cut out in here. I would be cut out in here. I would open it up and put it in, you know, cut out. I got a knife and another tailor's, a shoemaker's knife. And I cut it around and it looked very good. It was very good. Now I don't know where I got the nails.
Where were you when you were liberated?
Bergen, Belgium. This is a camp, Bergen, Belgium.
I see there are 3 people there,
Yeah, 2 friends. I don't.
2 friends. And you're the person on, what, the left of the picture? Right there.
Yeah, I didn't have what to wear, so I cut down a piece of blankets and to wrap around. And
You're about how old were you then?
I was about 14.
And I noticed, of course, you noticed immediately the barbed wire. You were on the
Yeah.
inside of the camp.
Yeah, inside, yeah. But this was this camp, we came to die. But I was liberated by the British.
When you came to the United States after the war, where did you come into the United States? And tell us a little bit about the process by which you came into this country.
And after the liberation, we went to the DP camps from Frankfurt am Main, from those barracks. They were not camps, but we lived in barracks. And we had to register, and you register, and then some months later they give out orders. We were kind of like, we don't know where we're going. We're on a list. Each country will ask to take in children. We'll go first. So they called, and I went first to Germany. And my other friend went too.
And you, came to New York?
Yeah, we came to New York
How did you get from New York to Kansas City?
because my husband had a sister, and he wanted to go where his sister was. And this is a picture when the 3 months when I came to the state.
And you're on the left,
Mm-hmm.
and on the right is
My husband.
your husband.
Yeah.
And where did you meet him?
I met him after the liberation. Like I say, we were going from city to city. They had lists that you could see, or somebody's alive, that you would know somebody's alive. So I went with a girlfriend. She had a boyfriend. She was a little bit older than I was. She was like a mother to me. So we took a train and we went to the other city to see. On the list, she had a boyfriend. She was looking for her boyfriend too, and she couldn't find her boyfriend. And when we came to that city, she had a friend in Frankfurt that she lived in Feldafing. A friend of hers lived in Feldafing, so we went to Feldafing. And we stayed with a lady. She had a son and a daughter and a husband. All were alive. And my husband came in one night with a girlfriend to that boy. So the second night he came without a girlfriend.